We had a little bit. I've got a little bit here, Steve, on the Euros. I wrote it down because the women's Euros are coming up. I only know about it because I'm working quite a bit of it. I'm probably going to be at a couple of the matches. I haven't watched any of it yet, and I wanted to see if it was popular. But we know we've got the World Cup coming in the winter, so I was wondering if there were any stocks that we might have that could maybe benefit from the World Cup and the Euros. See, I was going for the Euros at first because it's happening now, and I thought football going on. I was hoping people were going to watch the women's Euros. I was hoping people were going to get to the pubs and go out and do that. I don't know if people are because I've not been in society for God knows how long. So I want to know if people are watching it at home, and it'd be great if people in the comments could let me know. Be nice. Let me know if people are watching the Women's World Cup, the Women's Euros. Sorry, it's in the UK. England are going to do pretty well by the sounds of things. And I'd just like to see if people are watching it and what companies could benefit from it. But also because the World Cup is happening now in the winter, we might see a little boost in certain stocks in the winter that could boost our portfolio through this recession, which might not have happened on any normal year. Things like pub stocks, alcohol. I think I saw Domino's Pizza out there might have been one. ITV has the usage rights, so their advertising is going to go up, especially as during the pandemic, ITV had a bit of a problem delivering their adverts because most of their adverts are cruise lines and airliners and holiday packages. So they just completely pulled advertising during the pandemic. But now that's over, that sort of advertising is going to start coming back. I haven't watched any myself, but I believe it is coming back. So ITV and other terrestrial channels are actually quite good. But I just wondered if there was anything out there that might have taken your fancy.
Well, did have a bit of money burning a hole in my pocket this week with that Octa sale, and I did find something that I wanted to buy, and subsequently did. Adidas. It's an obvious choice, I think, but I might surprise you with just kind of how cheap it is at the moment. So, look, I like this stock a lot. I held it during COVID, and I sold it after it ran up. It ran up quite a lot. I think it even got into €300, which is, it was quite expensive for that kind of. I think it normally trades around the 160s or 180s, so it'd come down a lot. Since then, though, it's come down a lot just this year. I mean, just this year to date, it's down 35%. It's trading at just a touch over a 15 price to earnings ratio. So short term, it's got some headwinds and tailwinds. It's got potentially a recession in the West, and the zero COVID policy in China doesn't help. But then we've got the Women's Euros coming up, where you would expect Adidas to be fairly front and centre. You've got the Men's World Cup in winter, again, where you would expect Adidas to have a quite a good showing. So yeah, it looks pretty cheap to me. In the meantime, they're paying me a 2% dividend to hold them. They're buying back about $4 billion of their stock following the sale of Reebok. That should be over the next 2 years, which should take out about another 12.5%. $4 billion is about 12.5% of their current market cap. It's not my stock to buy for July, but I think this is a pretty interesting stock.
Nice. Pretty good multiples at the minute. It kind of had that bit of a compression. We're going to talk about that a lot later, I think.
Yeah, big compression, 15 price to earnings if you're looking at last year's figures. On every metric it looks fairly cheap. It had a decent year last year, so you should really factor that in. It did sell Reebok, so, but then you knock 2 years off Adidas, and it had a better year. So it's still in its recovery. Adidas has quite a few bricks and mortar stores when they're fully open, and we are not sort of in recession or fear of recession. Adidas I think should do fairly well from here. This looks pretty cheap, and it looks like a good opportunity to me.
While you were talking, I just did a quick Google actually on the World Cup kit brands, and the top news that was at the top was that Adidas, Puma and Nike, who are the three top brands that are making kits, have delayed their kit releases until later in the year. So the Women's Euros seems to be having zero effect on that, but that's going to be quite important in the coming months as the World Cup hype starts to take off. Nike have 12 of the 32 teams sponsored by them. Adidas has 6, and Puma has 6 as well, and the rest are all very small brands which I haven't seen for a long time. Kappa, Le Coq Sportif, Marathon Sports, Majid, and Hummel. Hummel must be Scandinavian one, I think. But yeah, Nike having 12 and Adidas having 6. I suppose the best question to ask is, why not Nike?
I just think Adidas is cheaper. That's the idea, really. Nike has always traded at a fairly undeserved premium to me. That might be my European bias talking there. I think in Europe we see quite a bit more Adidas than we do Nike. But yeah, I just think, I mean, they're both great stocks. I think they've both been fairly decent winners over the long run. Just for me at the moment, I think Adidas, I think it's a great company at a good price.
Well, here in the UK, we have a lot of different things that we can invest in here for the World Cup. I'm just looking at a quick list that I drew up earlier. Kit wise, so boots. Your kids are all, everyone knows that the kids get really excited and they want new boots and they want all the new kit and stuff like that. So anything kit wise, you've got Sports Direct you can buy in the UK. This is playing FTSE after all, so these are the UK stocks. I don't know how they're doing on multiple at the moment. JD Sports, obviously. And then you want the stay-at-home stuff. So Domino's Pizza, ordering in. Everybody knows that takeaway orders go up. Just Eat might have a little bump. But I've got listed here Sainsbury's, Morrison and Tesco could also have a little bump. And then you're looking at the pubs. You're looking at pubs and betting. So you're looking at Marston's, which was very popular. I think that's been very popular in the Discord. Very popular ever since they did that big deal with Carlsberg, probably 2 or 3 years ago now. And then William Hill, Paddy Power, Bet365, Betfair, all of those. I'm not into gambling stocks. I don't know if you are, Steve. I know a lot of investors out there are really into their gambling stocks. I'm not there. I can't get behind it. It's not. Maybe it's ESG, the ESG in me. But I personally don't gamble, and I stay away from it at every opportunity, so it just isn't in my circle of competence at all. I imagine it's very similar to you, Steve.
Well, I don't gamble, but I don't have an issue with buying the stock necessarily. I think gambling's fairly well regulated now, and I know that it is a life destroyer for the people who get really hooked on it, but I think there are plenty of tools there now to try and stop people getting hooked on it. And I think as they're probably the top of my bad ESG sort of sin stocks. They're the one that I would say out of all of them, I think that's probably the least problematic. Yeah. I just think with all of them, they tend to trade a bit cash rich. I think it was Flutter that I had a quite long look at beforehand, and I think if it is Flutter, their CEO is like the most highest paid person in the UK or something like that, and I just thought, is this warranted?
I feel like that's Bet365. I think Bet365 is the highest paid CEO or the joint CEOs in the UK. But have a look at that one. I know you can hear you typing. You're going to have a look at that one. I feel like it is.
Well, I'm just looking now. Flutter's CEO is Peter Jackson, so it wasn't Flutter. You keep talking, okay, Paul, and I'll find out who it was.
But yeah, the question is whether this is already priced in, I guess. Is this already, do people already know it's coming, or are they so scared of the recession and the bad news that is put out there by people like Michael Burry, which I think is going to be our next thing to talk about. It'll be up to you. I think it's up to the investors out there to find those cheap stocks. I think there are enough individual cheap stocks in the FTSE 100. Steve isn't really a fan of the FTSE 100, but I think there's a few bargains in there. I'm still looking myself. There's a lot to it. But
you were right, by the way. Bet365, Denise Coates took 421 million in pay for 2020. She took a pay cut this year. She only took 397.5 million.
I think that's insider knowledge from me. I had a bit of an insider track on Denise Coates at some point. I actually no, I can't tell you about that. I wouldn't be willing to put that out there right now. But yeah, I had a bit of insider trading on that one, I think, in the past.